So I want to talk about this fundamental difference between the dualistic perspective and the non-dualistic perspective. And that is, okay, story. Sometimes I try to explain it, but like, hey, just tell the story. Okay, so today I'm living in an apartment, and my neighbor has a dog and it barks a lot. And today I've had this thing with dogs where there's been one dog that was really aggressive, and I just stopped and looked at it, like I mean, it was indoor, it was in someone's property, but he was quite, like, the energy was quite aggressive, and so I startled, but then I just stopped and looked at him just to see if he would stop barking if I just stand there. And he just kept going. And I'm just like, I don't know what this is. No, that's not what I said. I said, you're an idiot. Because that's what I felt in the moment. And I'm like, ah. And that's okay. Like, that's a response. That doesn't mean I'm in the dualistic or non-dualistic. Like, that's just a response to the energy. And afterwards I was like, is he really an idiot? And I was like, he's actually just, and I feel like I just have to go through it for myself so that I know what the reality is. Because he's not an idiot. It's just that he's been trained to operate in a certain way. And I'm pretty sure that he is also heavily influenced by God and the Holy Spirit, and is definitely an avenue for communication to me. So I just continued, and I just made sure that I, like, oh yeah, he's just trained that way, and just, to level out the understanding in me, so I don't just go in and just like, oh, he was an idiot and la la la, and then allow that to continue. No, it's important to stop that momentum so that it doesn't continue, because then I'm going in the wrong direction, right? Okay, so I did that, and so now I'm by my neighbor. So that was outside. So now I'm in by my neighbor's. Talking about my neighbor now, neighbor's dog, and so he's barking a lot, and it's an old dog. I get it. And then I had this, and then so this happens usually every time I go in and out, and it's just when I go in and out. So other than that, he's pretty quiet, so it's not really that big of a deal. But it's interesting, and sometimes it has annoyed me, but then I have to work on myself to not get annoyed by something like that, so that I distance myself from that. So there's lots of learnings in all of this stuff, but I want to get to the point where, which is the point of what I was recording this video for, and that was one of these times today. I went out, and I have a keypad on my door, so I have to type in the code so that the door gets locked, right? So then I press this keypad, and it makes the sounds like dee 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 dee. So I felt the dog was almost in pain a little bit. I went into like, maybe it's the sounds that pain him. So I'm like, oh, maybe I can change my perception on how I see this, right? And that's such a manifestation tool to, like, okay, let's just think positive things, and let's just think positivity. Although I do believe that your focus does have an effect, absolutely. But I want to share something, because I've been kind of going on the fence with this one. And because initially I started saying that, okay, I can restate what I interpret of that dog. But then I'm like, hang on a second. At the core of that is actually the energetics of it, because that's how we have to do. We have to follow the energy. And so at the core of that is basically, I actually want to alter how I perceive something else, which is then I'm saying that I want to see something different than what it actually is. What I'm also saying is that I don't want to see reality, but I want to see my version of reality. And that is the dualistic perspective. That is at the fundamental core of the dualistic perspective, that I want to see something else that is actually not reality. I want you to just sit with that a little bit, because that is it's a deep thing. It's what is separating like spirituality. Like it's almost like it can create war in these kind of like manifestation, spirituality concepts, which is supposed to be all love and light and all of that stuff, right? It's not necessarily. It's marketed like that. It's like it is a marketing game. Some of them are doing a really good job. So I'm not saying that the whole thing is bad. I'm just saying that it is created, and all of the consciousnesses that are part of that is part of it. And so some are not being, I mean, maybe they're doing the best that they can, obviously, right? Everyone is doing the best that they can with the level that they're at. That's completely okay. But I'm talking about this so that you get the main difference between what the dualistic perspective really is at its core. Because if you still want a fake reality, you're still operating in the dualistic perspective. And that's the perspective that is collapsing. And we are being forced almost just by the energy that is moving upwards on the planet to actually collapse these dualities that we have inside of us. Because it's not about that anymore. And that's what I mean by seeing the truth. It is basically seeing the energetics of it in its essence, and not pretend that something is better or worse than it actually is. Because it can go both ways. It's about really looking at things exactly what it is. And that can be really practically, are you in a relationship that you're pretending that is better than it is? Or are you actually going and getting to know each other and looking under the carpet? It's time to look under the carpet and actually become real about what's going on. And that's what we are all being invited to do during these times. Everything, not a single trace will be left unturned. And so this can be done kicking and screaming, which many people have chosen. But it can also be done consciously, where we know that, okay, well, we're going this way. All of humanity, we're going this way. Well, let's just align to it and do the best of it. Many people are doing that. So, but that does mean it's the end of certain systems. Certain systems of control needs to be either transformed or they just will naturally fall away. So I hope that this gave you a bigger perspective of how important it is to actually look at things a bit more in detail, a bit more microscopical, and seeing like what's the source of this seed, this consciousness seed. What is the source of it? And I definitely want to see reality, because I have my entire life, I have grown up in environments that have been trying to feed me false narratives. People have tried to feed me false narratives that hasn't felt right, to the point where I almost gave up. But life has a way, and the universe has a way to correct energies and to really at the base of what is actually true, of the frequency of what's going on, not just what's being spoken, right? Because that can be manipulated. But at the core, that is what is important. That's how you get to stay in the non-dualistic perspective. When you start to harmonize these core, fundamental frequency changes that many people are still dealing with. So if you need any assistance with harmonizing these energies, you can go to the description and sign up for the Holistic Optimizer. And that is a way that you can start to get some assistance. If not, I know that if you just keep watching these videos, you will definitely get more and more in harmony with what is actually going on, which is the whole purpose of this is to basically adjust everyone that still has some functioning in the dualistic perspective and elevate everyone up to the non-dualistic perspective, so that we actually really can embody the truth of who we are. So we finally get to live like normal humans. The non-dualistic perspective is just normal human beings that are functioning well. It doesn't mean you don't have stuff to work with, but then you're in harmony with yourself, and then you can continue your journey. And that's when you get communication. That's when you get your soul mission, if you're ready for that. There might be other lessons that you need to go through first. That is up to you and your development, depending on where you're at. But it is the precursor to actually step into your soul mission and your soul purpose, is to actually harmonize and get yourself operating functionally well in the non-dualistic perspective. I hope that helped, and I'll see you again in the next one. Ciao.